Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
This week, aren't we all just a couple of Gen Xers hanging out at the parking lot by the convenience store? Because apparently that's all Gen Xers ever did. This is Adjust Your Tracking, and I'm one half of your host, Liam Delaney.
And I'm Ollie Jones.
And welcome to the show.
I like that. That worked well.
See?
It did work well. How you doing, man? You good?
I'm alright, yeah, you?
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm okay. It was my wedding anniversary yesterday.
It was, yeah. I got the Facebook reminder of your wedding.
That you were once a best man.
Yeah, I was the bestest man available.
Best man.
I was half of a best man, by the way. I don't want to devalue Rob. Mate.
We had some of the good groomsmen in the guise of Paul Naden and Mark Breeze. Or Mark Breze, as the newspapers always call him. They misspell his name all the time.
Is he always in the papers?
Well, whenever I've been in the paper, which is once. But yeah, so we were supposed to go out for a nice meal yesterday, but obviously, you know, for reasons we can't. And we were going to a place called The Wilderness, which is this really nice restaurant in the Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham. And
yeah, I think I know of that place.
Sadly, obviously, we couldn't go. But Caroline, behind my back, she started to speak to the head chef, the owner of The Wilderness. And she knew which my favourite dishes were because it was like a, what do you call it, where you have like 9 dishes, like taster menu.
Oh, or like a
it's
chef's table kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's like 9 to 12 different dishes, and they're like small ones, but you know, build it up and you have a nice big meal. But I was wondering why for the last few weeks she was asking me what my favourite meals were from that selection.
Well, she did it really subtly.
Yeah.
If we were going to eat there, what one would you like?
Exactly. And basically, he was kind enough to give her the recipe for one of his mains and one of his desserts. So Caroline made one of the mains and desserts, and she did a cracking job. It was really nice. It was really good.
That's really cool. That is really cool.
And then we got really drunk. It was good. That's
good too. That's quite a nice anniversary, really.
It was, yeah. I drew her a picture of E.T. framed it. I feel like at the time I was like, yeah, this is loads of effort. I'm putting loads of effort into this. Little did I know.
Little did I know she had this whole thing planned out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sure. I think I saw your picture, so it looked great.
Have you ever seen a TV show called Great British Menu?
I have seen it. I have to say, I can't stand it, but I have seen it.
He was a contestant on that. There you go. Why don't you like that show?
Oh, because it's too long. It's like 5 shows a week, and it proceeds at like a glacial place, and half the show is they go, what were you trying to do with this bit of meat? And they were like, well, I thought it would offset the pork or whatever. That's not how it happens. I thought it would offset the raspberry jam I put on it. And they go, well, did that work? And they go, yeah, I think it did. And the other person goes, I don't know about that. And that's like most of the show.
It's pretty true. But you are wrong, though, in one respect. They've now condensed it to 3 episodes a week, so you don't have to put it with 5 a week. But that was stretching it, 5 a week. But anyway. What else you been up to?
God. What was it? What? I don't know. When did we last do this? It was a week ago, wasn't it? It's been a whole week.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't think I've done anything. I went for a walk. That's about as much as you expect in isolation times.
I run 5k every morning.
God, well done.
And my legs are like jelly for the rest of the day.
I've been doing kind of workouts at home and stuff like that, and I've been walking where I can. I don't know. Everything's merging into
still doing
one
your
really.
yoga?
No, because my knee's still fucked.
Oh, from that incident.
Yeah, I tried to do it again actually, and my knee again popped out of its like joint or whatever it's doing. So I bought a knee brace actually.
Man, you're like Batman in The Dark Knight Returns. No,
Broken
Dark Knight
Man.
Rises.
Yeah. I think of myself as Stone Cold Steve Austin actually. I always think him in leg brace. He always had knee braces on. Right.
Yeah, or our friend in The Tiger King had a knee brace on, but this never explained.
It's not
but
that.
anyway.
It's not that. It's not that kind of epic. It's not like a kind
You
of
were
like
you
huge
weren't mauled by a
cage.
tiger.
No. And carry around a gun and whatever else that monster does.
You watched any films?
Yeah, so what have I been watching? I actually, because of the year we're doing, I've been doing my top 10 lists on Letterboxd for each year as we're going through, just because I've never done my lists. And as I was trying to do my year this year, I kind of realised how many films in that year I really like, but I haven't seen in years. So I kind of caught up and watched some 1996 films actually.
Okay,
so that's kind of what I watched. Really, I don't know if I watched anything else. I can't actually remember.
Anything in particular?
Yeah, the two things that really stood out to me was The Frighteners, the Peter Jackson film.
Oh yeah,
which is was it Michael J. Fox's last film? Probably was.
It was definitely his last film as probably a leading, well, not an action hero, but like a leading man, I guess.
Yeah. I can't think of another thing he did after that. I know he did some TV.
Apparently on that set he broke his foot, so a lot of the times he's doing a Jackie Chan where he's got like a thing over his foot to make it look like a boot or whatever.
Oh, no way.
But I really enjoyed that film.
It holds up. That's why I wanted to rewatch it. I think it holds up, and it's got that proper kind of. It's that proper like midway between Peter Jackson doing his kind of, what do you call it? The gore stuff he was doing in New Zealand.
Oh yeah, like his splatter movie.
Yeah, like the splatter movie. Yeah, and then actually kind of then prestige Peter Jackson, who did after Lord of the Rings really, and it serves as that kind of middle point really, and I really liked it. The special effects are a bit hokey now, but I think the story holds up and everything like that.
Because I'm not sure if he was meant to do King Kong before The Frighteners or straight after The Frighteners, because that was the original plan. And if you look at his original idea for King Kong, it's a lot different to...
Really?
Because in the end, he just basically remade the original King Kong, whereas he was going to do like the Mummy version of King Kong, like the Brendan Fraser, like that kind of version of King Kong.
That's kind of... I don't know if I hate his King Kong or not. I don't. I know that the first 3 hours are set on the boat, I think.
I'll tell you what, when we get to the 2005, we'll both rewatch it.
Okay, that's a deal.
And you've got to watch the director's cut. It's like about 40 minutes longer.
I just remember that the cast is huge and there's so many characters that I don't need to know the name of, and he keeps just finding more people to introduce you to. This is the chef for the boat, and this is the...
I was going to say, The Frighteners, I'm pretty sure one of the reasons why he did Lord of the Rings was due to The Frighteners, because he perfected the ghost effect. And I think he thought I could translate that into the ghosts that appear later on in like Return of the King or whatever. I mean, that might not be true. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure it gave him confidence to work with new technology. I'm sure that's that's true.
But I think he definitely went the way of your mate Robert Zemeckis, where
he just got swallowed by the tech.
It came too much about pushing the tech forward, which is good because it opened the floodgates for other filmmakers, but it's also bad because it means that two good filmmakers have got some real ho-hum, like, iffy films in there. Why are you holding 3 up in your hand?
I think Ang Lee is part of this trifecta.
Oh, do you think so?
Yeah, I love him, but he's got obsessed with his high frame rate shooting, and he's more obsessed with the high frame rate shooting than anything else, I think.
Yeah, I think it's great that you've got these guys that are pushing the tech forward, because then it helps younger filmmakers or that can use it in ways to help tell a story, but not be technology be the forefront of it.
Without Beowulf and without Polar Express and the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, we wouldn't have the mocap technology we have nowadays. We just wouldn't have it. And I don't think those films are good. But in a way, he sacrificed a lot of his career now.
He's the sacrificial lamb.
He did. It's like a kind of, I don't know what to... I always call it a tin cup moment, because I can't think of another example. But do you know in the film Tin Cup when Kevin Costner keeps whacking the golf ball to try and prove that he can get it onto the green, and he just keeps putting it in the water, but he's gonna ruin his whole game just to prove that he can do it. That was just like Robert Zemeckis, basically. He's just like proving he can fucking do this technology, and proving over and over again, and it keep failing. Especially Beowulf. God, that fucking film.
I've seen that film. Tin Cup. Is it Tin Cup?
Yeah.
But I always get it confused with Pushing Tin.
Pushing Tin.
Is it Pushing? The one with John Cusack and
Are they both? Are they both golf movies?
no, the one's about air traffic control.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
But for some reason, I keep getting them mixed up in my head.
Weren't there? I swear there were 2 golf movies that came out around the time of Tin Cup.
Happy Gilmore? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, like, kind of, you know, that that subgenre romantic sports comedy, like Wimbledon.
Romantic golf movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Tweet at us. Hashtag, I don't know, Cosner
Romantic
golf.
sports movie.
I'm not good at hashtags.
I finally watched Cats.
Oh dear, oh dear. Was that anniversary?
Can I give a hot take?
No. Yeah, I can't.
All right. Bear in mind, I was messaging you through the whole screening of it, like laughing at some of the dodgy effects on that. But I don't think it's the worst film I've ever seen in my life. I've seen worse.
That's fair.
And the thing is with Cats, it's shit to begin with anyway. So it's not like it's like Cats is very camp. It's weird anyway. And I think the film just pretty much reflects the stage show of it. And I was sitting next to my wife watching it, who I wouldn't say she necessarily loves to play Cats, but she loves the music.
Mm.
And she loved that, just hearing those songs. So seeing someone actually enjoy something, even though I didn't like it, it kind of changed my opinion of it a little bit. And I'm no way saying this film is a good film, but I don't think it's the massive crime against cinema that everyone says it is. But I still don't think I need to see Idris Elba as a weird
Eldritch nightmare.
Yeah. He was very shiny and
it's not good.
He looked very gender neutral without any
he looks like he's I don't know how to even word this. He looks like he should look really sexy.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, God.
You know, like in comic books when they do Elseworlds and they'll do like Batman as a real bat.
Yes.
He looks like Black Panther as a real cat. But
that's such a niche comic book thing.
So I think in the film they kind of made his character like the villain. And they've added this storyline where he somehow can teleport around the place. And he takes people onto a boat, which is really, really weird.
Is it Ray Winston on the boat?
Yeah. And it is bizarre. But I kind of admired it in a weird way for just being so fucking, like, odd. And just kind of going for it.
I think I said this to you before. It starts in the worst possible way. With that, like, when that first song that is just them saying Jellicle 50,000 times, and then it's like
Jellicle,
Rebel Wilson, and James Corbin are the first two kind of things that introduce you to it. You're just like, oh, fucking kill me. I think when they get into the theatre, it kind of finds its legs a bit.
Well, it stays there for the rest of the film, doesn't it? Once it's there.
But my take of it is just, I think he takes it too seriously, and I think the way he shot it is shit. So I think it ruins the best stuff they got about it because he shot it basically. But
I mean, the mice were the biggest crimes. God, they looked so bad, and the scale of them was like, I was like, a mouse isn't that small compared to a cat.
All over the fucking shop in that film. They're scaled as if a cat is walking upright is what a cat's always doing.
Yeah.
But they walk on 4 legs all the time. So why did they do that?
Yeah. I mean, if my cat of Turnip was standing up on his legs, he'd be actually quite tall.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, there's a bit where
not struggling to get over a railway sleeper.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, they've got knives and forks in their hand. These knives and forks are ginormous. And then there's another one where they're in someone's bedroom and they've one of them's got a finger ring around their wrist, and I was like, a ring would not go around a cat's wrist.
No
Do you know what I mean? They're not that small.
It's such
There
a
was one
fucking
bit.
odd
Who's
thing.
the magic cat? I don't know what his name is.
Oh,
But there's a bit.
it's the song.
Mistopheles?
Magical Mr. Mistopheles. There we go.
That's it. But he keeps doing stuff with his hands, and on his wrist, the mapping or whatever with the CGI is so bad it just moves all around the place. It's so bad, and like you see people's chests just constantly shift around all the place, and
They kind of float across and like their heads are kind of wobbling about the place.
and like Rebel Wilson for some reason takes off unzip her body. It's really weird.
She's the worst in that film. She's the worst.
And they look more like monkeys, like the way they jump around and stuff.
I hate the cat stuff in it. I hate it so much. I hate the mewing. I hate the rubbing each other's faces. I hate Judi Dench lying in a fucking cat basket. I just don't like that shit. And like the ending of that film, I know that's the ending of the play, but Judi Dench might still be talking right now if I looked. I don't understand why it's so long. I don't understand why they don't talk to the audience once and then the last 15 minutes is Judi Dench talking to you. It's so off-putting.
Like in my head, Judi Dench has been 70 for the last 30 years, but she's 85. I didn't realise she was 85 now.
She's she's a national treasure.
She is.
We stan Dame Judi Dench.
You watched anything else?
Yeah, I watched The Nutty Professor.
Hey. Thoughts?
You know why? I think I like it.
I really like that film. I'm sure we went to see this back in the day at the cinema
We
together.
must have. This is absolutely that time when we were kind of young teenagers, when we went to the film all the time, and that film came out at a point where I can't believe how big of a film it was. Do you know what I mean?
I know, he was pretty big in it, wasn't he?
Hey. But like
some of the CGI is pretty shocking.
Yeah, but I don't know. It works. Eddie Murphy. I know I'm kind of fascinated by Eddie Murphy's career. I'm constantly confused by him. Like, what? But like, it's a weird fucking film. It really is. And you kind of get to the end of it, and you're like, I'm not totally sure the moral here.
I think he went through the 80s as being like the comedy king almost of the 80s. And then I think by the time he got to the 90s, he wanted to do more serious films. And apparently, Beverly Hills Cop 3, he didn't want to be a comedy.
Right.
He wanted it to be more of an action drama kind of film, which if you watch that film, he doesn't do any jokes. No bananas in the tailpipes. None of that. And then something must have happened in the mid-90s where he kind of wanted to go more of a kid route. Maybe he had kids at that point or something, because then he did like, what was after that? Like Dr. Dolittle, and then he started to do Dave and
Daddy Daycare.
Pluto Nash. Daddy Daycare.
Pluto Nash, yeah. Haunted Mansion. These classics that we all look out for.
But The Nutty Professor, like, it's one of those like comedies where it's got the default like female lead who's pretty much nothing. And but it's got some genuine funny moments in it. Like the table at the dinner table scene, I think is so well done.
Yeah, I do too. And I think he's actually really funny in it as well.
Yeah. Like the sequel though is horrendous. Don't ever watch that sequel.
I don't know if I've seen it. If I'm really honest, I actually don't know if I've seen it.
I'm pretty sure he creates a love potion in that one.
Oh, good.
I might be wrong. I don't know.
Oh, love potions are always good for some fucking casual rape in a film. It was kind of weird because at both times it was kind of like you're meant to feel sympathetic for the character, and at both times like the Sherman Clump. And at both times, you're kind of meant to be laughing at him for being fat. So
Yeah.
I was kind of watching thinking, am I laughing at him or do I like him? I'm not sure
Yeah.
which I'm doing. Which is just, I think, a product of it being made in '96, frankly. But
You've got a young Dave Chappelle in it as well.
yeah. Good scene, actually. He's quite funny.
I've heard of dreadlocks, but shitlocks.
Is the I don't know Dave Chappelle very well, but is the women be shopping thing something he would do in his act, or is that just from
Possibly?
this?
I don't know.
Because people
I don't
say
know if
that a
he
lot.
was trying to, but I don't know if he was trying to create like a real bad stand-up comic.
Yeah,
like that was his
yeah.
persona.
If that was a character that he did, yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
But even that is funny. Women be shot. Women be shot. Women be shot.
Because people say that all the time now in like taking the piss out of shit comedy, and I was astonished if it had started in this film. It can't have. But
No. I think that's just such a generic joke about women and shoes and all that
Sure.
kind of shit.
sure.
Do you know what I mean? Just lazy writing that probably we wrote into our films when we were like 15 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because we didn't know any better.
You can't write women without saying shopping.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nutty Professor kind of holds up more than I actually thought it did. It definitely.
It's also got like a King Kong Godzilla
that
kind of
seems quite
scene.
good, yeah. Yeah, the dream sequences now are actually really funny.
Another film that year had a similar scene as well.
Did it?
Beavis and Butthead Do America. I'm sure that's 96.
It
I
is
think.
96, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because that's got a scene. I think that opens up with like a
It
King
does,
Kong
doesn't it?
Godzilla
With like a
kind of
King
scene,
Kong
yeah.
thing, yeah. God, I haven't watched that in it. I've been working my way through all the old Beavis and Buttheads. I've got so I can watch all of them. But I was going to watch the film last because I have to go in order.
The film stands up so well in my
Does
opinion.
it? I've
It
got
still makes
fond
me laugh.
memories of it. So
Have you ever seen? Because the DVDs that you lent me, which have kind of it's called like the Mike Judge collection. It's only got like 150 episodes on them. When there's like
Okay.
over 250
Yeah,
episodes,
yeah.
because there's some in the early years that he downright despises. And like if you look at the animation, it's like like how the early Simpsons, like the first series,
yeah,
that
just
had a
look
few
wrong.
different teams working on it.
Yeah,
So you have the very first episode that looks like the Simpsons, then you have the one after it with the babysitter, and you're like, "What's this?"
Yeah, because they used
In
to
the early
they used to
Beavis
outsource it to the Korean studios, and the Korean studios didn't really get, or at least the message wasn't passed along to them that they want this to feel like a real place, and they want they
Right.
want these characters to feel just like a sitcom, even though they look a bit funny, and they were just animating it like they were animating any kids cartoon, so they just didn't care. They'll color like crazy hair colors in the background and just weird shaped heads and stuff like that. They just didn't think it was
Yeah.
important. So the notes just kept on, and they didn't have time to fix it in season 1. But the notes just kept coming back saying, "No, we want this to feel like a show. We don't want it to feel like some crazy characters."
Yeah, but like going back to Beavis and Butthead, like some of the early episodes are so bad. Like the animation and the art style is like so off character model. It's bizarre, and I think that's due to the fact that
It feels very tactile though. The early Beavis and Birds though. I feel like it's almost you can always feel like it's him doing it.
oh, it's not even him, but you can see the pencil marks or the
Yeah.
you can see like the ink drying on it because they couldn't get it
Yeah.
on the TV fast enough. And like that was back when like Beavis was obsessed with fire and they had to cut that out because someone like burnt down their like trailer with a baby in it and stuff like that and blamed it on
God.
Beavis and Butthead. Yeah,
Oh
you know,
my
heard
God.
that story.
I think I have. Didn't remember it at all.
Yeah.
My God.
And like there's one episode where they go across the Mexican border
yeah.
and they're smuggling drugs back and they're just swallowing all these drugs and they're just completely getting fucked up on the way back through Mexico to America. And then it really tamed down and like the characters became the characters that we know now where they're not
Sure.
hateful, they're just more idiots.
They're just really dumb. Yeah, they're really,
Yeah.
really dumb. Yeah.
Which I think is more endearing, to be honest.
Yeah, they definitely made it much more kind of just like, I don't know, less hateful is just a better way to put it, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
The episodes of that crap me up so much, like the stuff that's set in the fast food restaurant when they burn it down or they cover it in shit or something. I can't remember what it is. Like a guest, like someone comes in, they just set fire to everything. And there's one where, and There's one with the tyre I always think of. When the whole
Was
episode...
that when they're just rolling down the
they're just
hill?
rolling down the hill in a massive tyre. Just crashing into everything. Oh, and is there one where they have to dig they get hired to dig a swimming pool by the neighbour?
Yeah, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
And they cement themselves into the ground.
Yes. And I think there's one when they
Such a
rob
good
his mower, or they try and rob his. No, he's not.
I think that's the same episode, because
same
then
one?
they try and drive the mower gets driven into the pool and gets stuck in the pool with them.
There's one with not a mower, but like a little JCV thing that they just turn on. They think it's not working, and they leave it, and it just jets off into like through everyone's gardens and keeps going. All that.
There's a good one where Beavis gets a nosebleed, and they're trying to stop him having a nosebleed, so they're like stuffing tampons up his nose and stuff like that. I've actually got an animation cell from that episode.
Awesome.
Hang on, I've got it here. It's not going to work well for our viewers, listeners, but I'm showing Liam a cell from Beavis and Butthead.
That's awesome. That looks really cool. Yeah, so it's what Beavis has got blood all over his head.
Yeah, and Butthead's giving Beavis the Heimlich to try and stop him having a nosebleed. Anyway, I watched another film. I watched Nightbreed by Clive Barker. Have you seen that film?
Oh my god, no, I haven't. What's the score?
So that film, it's David Cronenberg plays the villain in that
Does
film, bizarrely. Yeah. And I don't know if all of his dialogue's dubbed. He sounds so on top of the film. Like his
Right.
audio is on top of the mix. It's really bizarre. But the idea for this film is the main guy, I've forgotten his name, it's Boone or something like that.
Okay.
But he has these nightmares of these monsters and demons. But he kind of likes these demons that are in his nightmares, and he goes to a therapist who's played by David Cronenberg. But it turns out David Cronenberg is actually a serial killer.
Okay.
And he frames these murders on Boone and gets Boone killed, and then Boone ends up in the world with the monsters who are actually good.
Okay.
Even though they're all horrific, like Clive
Yeah.
Barker kind of overly sexualized, bizarre, kinky monsters.
Talking of Clive Barker monsters, what's your favourite? What are they called in Hellraiser? What's their name?
Oh, Xenobites.
What's your favourite Cenobite?
The one with the camera for a head.
He's
He's a cameraman.
Good
Is
pick.
it Cenobites? Something.
Cenobites, yeah, I'm sure it is. Mine's a CD. It's a guy with loads of CDs.
Does he fire them at his head or something?
I can't remember. I think it's from like Hellraiser 4 or something.
There's a load of those films. They're still making them.
Are they?
But yeah, Nightbreed. I was trying to find the director's cut of it because apparently, there's a lot that doesn't quite make sense in the theatrical one, or that's
Sure.
kind of like it feels like it's missing. So I wanted to try and find the director's cut so I could get the full Clive Barker experience. But I couldn't find it. Danny Elfman does the music though, and you can tell it's Danny Elfman, especially early 90s Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
So everything sounds like fucking Batman.
You know, Clive Barker only ever directed 3 films.
So yeah, did he direct Hellraiser?
Yeah. Hellraiser, Nightbreed, and Lord of Illusions. It was the only 3 films.
I haven't seen that one.
It's just weird because I connect him to so many films. I always think he's the director of them. Like Candyman, I always think he directed Candyman, but he didn't.
So there's remakes that's coming out, isn't it?
It is, yeah, isn't it Jordan Peele? So
Has he directed it or
I think so.
produced it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's connected to him.
I know he's done a few video games like Jericho and stuff like that. But like, I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of Clive Barker's stuff.
No,
But,
I don't really have. I have a very small opinion. Not small. That's not right way of wording it. I mean, I just have not much to say.
My problem with his films are because they're quite low budget. All the money, and probably rightfully so, goes on all the costumes and the effects and stuff like that. So they don't necessarily have the best actors in them, and some of the writing's a bit on the nose, and the way it's shot is very televisual.
It is quite televisual, yeah.
So it's not. I don't know, but things like the Candyman though. On the other hand, I think that was great. Candyman, from what I remember of it.
I remember really liking it. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a few of those?
I think there was 3. I think.
Really?
I'm not sure I've seen any but the first one, if I'm honest.
Do you know what they should have done? They should have called the first one Candyman. The second one should be called Candyman, Candyman. Then the third one should have been Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. Because aren't you meant to say his name 3 times to release him?
There we go. That's the joke.
That's the joke.
I think that would be really good. I hate films that have the wrong title. That always pisses me off. Like the 2 I always go to is Rambo 2 should be called Second Blood.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know why it's not called that. That's the stupidest thing in the world. And Ralph Breaks the Internet should be Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Why is it?
Oh, God. What is it? Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Wrecks the Internet?
No, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Should be just call it Ralph Wrecks the Internet.
Just, what was the one I was thinking of in my head just a minute ago? It's gone now. I mean, Batman Begins and Dark Knight annoys me.
Right.
Because it's Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises.
And they'll never sit nice on your shelf like that.
No. Especially if you like alphabetize like I do.
Yeah, because they're in totally different places.
Yeah, it's like, you bastard.
What do you so when it comes to stuff like Raiders, do you put it under Raiders or do you put it I for Indiana
Well, this
Jones?
is what I was going to get to, because apparently the original idea was that they're always going to be called Raiders something. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Raiders of the Temple of Doom, or something like that. That was the original plan. But I've got the box set, so it's just Indiana Jones.
So it saves you.
But I always call it Raiders. I don't call it Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I always call it Raiders too. But I'm a bit of a stickler because I always call Star Wars Star Wars. And if someone says it's called A New Hope, I'm like, I think you mean Star Wars.
Well, no, that bugs me then, because then it's the only one without the subtitle.
I know.
And I don't like, but this is the thing, I don't like it when a first film comes out with a subtitle, because I'm like, oh, are you presuming you're going to get more? We'll see about that one, shall we?
We'll see about that one. Dawn of Justice Rising, or whatever the fuck.
Oh, God, yeah.
To be fair, they got their sequel. Justice did rise.
Did they?
Dawn. No, Justice did Dawn. I saw it happen. They defeated that amazing villain.
Did you actually watch that film?
Someone. Steppenwolf. That's who it is. I can remember it and everything. I did watch it. I watched it on a rainy bank holiday one day, actually. It's not worth talking about, frankly. It's atrocious.
No, it's not. But what is worth talking about? Something we watched in 1996.
Yeah.
Have I ruined your segue?
God. Ow!
Okay, so what year are we talking about today then, Liam?
Right, so we're deep in our kind of 1990s miniseries, and we're talking about 1996 this week. So, what do you think about 1996 in film, Ollie?
I think about Fargo, which is probably one of my favourite films of all time.
Yeah, it's my favourite film of the year.
Adore that film.
It's absolutely up there, isn't it?
It's just so... I can't... it's just so good, that film. It's just perfect. Everything about that film, I can't even do it justice to talk about it, because I love that film. It's in my top 5 of all time films.
I always
who's your favourite character in Fargo?
Oh my god. To be honest, it's probably Frances McDormand. I think Marge Gunderson is one of the best characters ever written, frankly.
It's crazy as well. She doesn't come into it till about halfway into that film, and then dominates the rest of that film.
Yeah, absolutely dominates it to the point that it's hard to think of anything else in it. The whole of that film, the visualization, the music, the snow, and the crazy side characters.
Well, I think you first told me about Fargo, and you sold it to me like the first scene. I remember you telling me about William H. Macy, and the first scene is just him beating up his car. He's defrosting his car.
When he gets really mad and just starts slapping it, and then slowly just stops and then picks up his thing again and continues just working away.
My favourite character is the guy that Marge has not a date with, it's like an old school colleague.
Yeah.
You're such a super lady. Like, that scene serves no purpose in that film whatsoever, but it's a great scene, and like
it does serve a purpose though. It serves a purpose of strengthening her, yeah. Like
what? Just that she's a nice person.
Well, no, I think it adds commitment to her marriage. I think it shows you how like committed she is to this kind of marriage that you don't see much love between them most of the time because they're very cold.
I guess so.
Apart from the end where they're very, the husband's just very mute. I guess don't mean cold.
About his stamps and stuff. But yeah, I guess so. I mean, I always just thought of it as just I never saw them as there was anything wrong with their relationship. It's just that's how they function. That's how they,
But I think the film that seems there just to kind of reassure you that there isn't anything wrong with their relationship. Whereas you could maybe there's not.
Do you think they're trying to make the viewers think that she is on a date?
Yeah, I think so. Or she's tempted.
Yeah.
Do you think
so?
Yeah, she's looking for. I think she's the type of character you think might be looking for something. I think as an audience, you might think that character is looking for something more in her life. Like she, like in all aspects of her life. Like maybe she wants like a richer husband, a bigger house, or maybe she wants to be like a federal agent or something like that. And actually, what the film tells you that she is absolutely content where she is, and she's brilliant at it.
Yeah, comfortable.
Like she's not just comfortable; she's great. Like,
ooh, I don't think I agree with your piecework in there, Lou. I love it. What about you? What's one of your?
I was just say going off about Fargo. Have you ever seen Kumiko, the Treasure Hunter, directed by David Zellner?
Oh no, I need to see this.
Came out in 2014.
Is it actually a true story? Or is it like?
I don't believe it is. I think it's a true story in the same way Fargo is a true story. But so
this is a Japanese girl who's trying to look for the money.
It's a Japanese girl who comes across a VHS copy of Fargo, sees that this is a true story because it's really bad kind of badly tracked VHS copy. Sees it's a true story, doesn't understand it's a film, and then travels to Minnesota to find the money, basically.
Okay.
It's great, and I absolutely recommend watching it. It's a spiritual sequel to Fargo, and I always think of it.
I think, like, I love the first series of Fargo, the TV series. Apparently, there was a TV series or a pilot made after the first film, but apparently it's meant to be garbage. But I think the plot of the first series that links into the movie is the weakest part of that series, where the guy finds the money and becomes like, he opens up his freezer company or whatever, or like his farm foods or Iceland equivalent of like kind of I thought that was a bit of a weak storyline.
Yeah, I'd agree. I like the TV show as well. Actually, I just like the people in it more than anything else. It's performance led for me.
I mean, it's become now, I think, the Coen Brothers extended universe movie as opposed to the TV show, as opposed to the Fargo TV show, because now it's set in the southern states now, I think, and it's got Chris Rock as one of the main characters.
Cool. I'd like to see Chris Rock.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
96 is weird because, well, it's not weird. 96 I just think is a really good year of film. I could sit here and just list endlessly films, so I don't want to do that because it's boring. But I think when I was trying to do my top 10, I was finding it really difficult to find. I can guarantee I've no hatred for Independence Day, but it's not in my top 10, and that's just the type of year it is. But Scream, I rewatched that. It holds up better than I think I ever thought it would hold up. I think it's wonderful.
Scream is so good,
and it's a shame.
It's a shame the sequels are terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind rewatching them. I think I might have less expectation of them now, and I might enjoy them a little more. But they were never going to be the first film, which. This sounds really dumb, but I don't think I ever quite got how meta it was when I was young. Like, I knew it was a meta film, but watching it the other day, I was just like, it's so laced with it that it couldn't actually have Scream without it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so intrinsic to all elements of that film.
Well, how old would we have been in 96? So I definitely got this on video in like 97 when it first came out. So I would have been like, what? 13, 14.
Okay.
I wouldn't have seen all the other films that it's
I might have seen Halloween
on,
because I really like John Carpenter, and my dad did, I think so. But
yeah,
no, I don't think I would have have got everything it was doing. But even the conversations, like, it just reinvented horror. It was one of the, we talked about this last week about films that ended up ruining like genres. Everything had to be Scream after this film. Like, every horror film had to be Scream because they just.
I Know What You Did Last
Summer.
Yeah,
and Urban Myths, is that what it's called? And
yeah, something urban, yeah,
because that was trying to be meta in the same weird way, and it doesn't work. What also doesn't work is Deadpool. Stop being meta. Shut up. But like Jamie Kennedy's character in this is just like it's just hilarious, really, that exists in a film. Also, Matthew Lillard is a national treasure, and he whatever he's doing needs to be hired for every film going forward. He's fucking wonderful in Scream. He's so good, and I don't know why I understand why he's not constantly in films.
I think he's great.
I do.
And again, like you said, it's a shame that he's not in enough. I tell you, like, another actor who I really liked when I was younger. Like, I really liked Christian Slater growing up, and like, for some reason, he never seemed to. Yeah, he's done big stuff,
Sure.
but he never seemed to like reach that upper echelon of actors that I thought he could have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What you mean. I think he had the kind of problem that everyone assumed he was a movie star, and they just started treating him as a movie star. When I think his career trajectory would have been better placed as like just character actor, basically. The kind of like,
all right,
you know how they put Ryan Reynolds in every single movie star role.
Yeah,
that kind of thing, really. I know Ryan Reynolds now is a movie star, but they just kind of they forced it.
They were forcing him for a long time. Okay, Cable Guy, good or bad?
Oh, I think it's good. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
I was reading up about the Cable Guy the other day. Apparently, they shot every scene 2 different ways: a more serious, darker way, and then a more comedic, lighter way.
That's insane.
And they decided to go the more comedic, lighter way. And apparently, Judd Apatow wants to direct it because he rewrote the script.
Okay.
But then the studio says, no, you're not allowed to direct it. And then hired fucking Ben Stiller to direct it. Did he direct Reality Bites?
Yeah, I think he did. I was going to say that.
Okay, so he'd already got experience.
Did he do anything after that, though? That's what... Is it the last film he directed, or did he...
Who's that?
Ben Stiller? Yeah.
Well, no, he did Tropic Thunder and Walter Mitty, didn't he?
Did he do Walter Mitty?
Yeah, he did.
Actually, he directed Zoolander, so I should know that. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Zoolander.
Yeah.
I never saw the second one, sorry.
I don't remember if I saw the second one. That's a good review. I'm sure I've seen it.
Also, you had... Like, the Disaster movie was big in 1996. Like, so you had Twister was a big one.
Yeah.
And
The Rock and
obviously Independence Day.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff like that. You got Mission Impossible as well, which which a completely different film in 1996 than it is now. But I love that 1996 film.
That's still my favourite Mission Impossible. I haven't seen the last 2 ones. How many are there now? I had the 5 or 6.
5, I think. I love them. I love all of them apart from the second one.
The last one I saw was I think it was Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, that's the Brad Bird one, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 since then, or 1 since then. So that means there's 6 of them
6,
now.
yeah. God.
Yeah.
I love them.
I tell you what did come out this year. Space Jam came out, which is an insane movie. And do you know where I first watched that?
Where?
So in Sutton, where we're from, Sutton Coalfield, there's a shop called Apollo, which I'm sure is a chain. And they had like a home theatre booth, which was like a closed off area with a sound, like a soundproof glass. So you could like hear how good the sound system was. And the film they were demoing in there was Space Jam.
Huh.
And I think when I was like, 13, 14, they were playing it on DVD to show off how good DVDs were. And it just started, so I just sat down there. Next thing I knew, the credits were rolling. I sat and watched the whole of Space Jam in Apollos. Apollo 2000, that's what it's called.
And a good day was had.
Yeah.
I guess other films from that year that I love Romeo and Juliet. That's one of my favourite films from that year.
That is a fantastic film.
Yeah, it really holds.
I saw that recently at the Botanical Gardens outside at night. It was really good. Bit cold.
Ollie's weird viewing experiences.
I know.
Saw that one in a washing machine shop. Saw that one in a garden.
That was good.
The first Wachowski film, Bound, which is absolutely worth
Bound,
watching.
yeah.
It's brilliant, and actually, like, it's a really interesting film watching now, knowing them as women, because that film is really female kind of gazy, whereas I think it was sold as this kind of like erotic kind of male kind of titillation thing, but actually going back and watching it, it's not that film. It actually does have like a kind of female gaze to it, which is really kind of interesting. It's great, really great film.
Well, The Matrix, I can't remember if Neo was meant to be gay and Trinity was a man, or if Trinity's kind of meant to look a bit androgynous, but there's definitely that character called Switch who was meant to be
Switch
both.
was meant to be, yeah. And
which is a shame they...
The Matrix is all about kind of... The Matrix is about reclaiming your identity no matter what your body is, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Like, great films. We're not in 99 though, but Matrix, fucking great film. And
they're making, the fourth one's coming out
it
next
is,
year
apparently.
or whatever.
I guess they aren't working on it at the moment, so... But
yeah,
it's meant to be happening.
It's surprising that one of the sisters hasn't come back to direct that. It's just the one.
Yeah, I can't remember who it is. Is it Lily that hasn't come back, or Lana?
Yeah, Lana's directing that.
Yeah, I think they got a bit put off by the film industry a little bit. That's all. But I love their films. I really do. I've gone back and watched them all again, and all their films hold up. Really. I
tell you what, we'll do a special on their films, because I'd love to watch Jupiter Ascending, and I need to.
Jupiter Ascending. You, if you haven't seen Speed Racer, you fucking love it. Like,
I've seen Speed Racer
because it's such a, especially it was ahead of its time when it came out, and it really was. It really was that hyper energetic kind of filmmaking. It was doing that much more before anyone was ready to accept it.
Do you reckon they may have been a bit in the realm of? You know how we were talking earlier about Peter Jackson and stuff, like really pushing technology to their detriment, or
maybe.
But they seem to definitely have ideas that they were trying to push forward, I think.
Yeah.
So
maybe. Probably, yeah. I hadn't thought of that, but I mean, The Matrix is that, isn't it? Really. And then, but The Matrix 2 and 3 kind of suffer from technology overload a little bit, don't they?
Oh, massively, especially the third one.
Especially the third
like,
one.
I couldn't even...
I think the second one's okay, actually, but the third one is a drag.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'd like to rewatch them.
Yeah, we should do that. That sounds like a plan.
Interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, what we're talking about today, though...
Yeah, so after all those, we're actually talking about Richard Linklater's SubUrbia, which was his follow-up to the huge, huge film After... something. Which one is it? I always get them mixed up. Is it After Sunset?
After Sunrise or Before Sunset? I don't know. There's one of them. Or is it After Sunset, Before Sunrise? I don't know. It's and what's the other one? There's a third one.
So it's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight is the three films. So this is his follow-up to Before Sunrise, which was the first one.
Look at us. Are we all dressed the same?
Eating the yogurt.
We all talk the same.
Checking the voicemail.
We all watch the same TV.
Shaving the bikini line. Sometimes I just want something different, you know?
Pony's coming here to the corner?
Pony? What's a pony? You mean the geek who played the folk music at the senior prom?
Yes!
Well, you wanted to get together with your close friend Pony the Rockstar, I understand.
The corner. I mean, nothing's changed.
Didn't you see their video on MTV?
Oh, I shot my TV.
You still living at your mom's?
He's rich and he's famous. He's got everything, and you've got nothing.
Great concert tonight, huh?
You were there?
No. I don't need a limousine to know who I am, all right?
Right on. You know what? He doesn't need the limo, man.
I don't have an answer. I don't have a message.
Okay, great. Well, now he's crying.
'Cause I'm not like everybody else. No, I'm not like everybody else.
It's this tar pit of stupidity that we're all stuck in.
Put back the leprechaun.
Go! Top of the world, boys!
Like, you don't belong here. We were here before you.
What are we doing, Jeff? You and me.
I'm moving out to L.A.
Oh, that's nice. They have many convenience stores there for you to stand in front of.
Like everybody else. Like everybody else. Like everybody else. Like everybody else.
So what did you think of the film, Ollie J? Don't know why I'm calling you Ollie J.
I have a feeling if I saw this film in the 90s when I was watching Clerks and Dazed and Confused and all those films, I probably would have liked it more.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I mean, as I was saying to you earlier, if I look at my notes, they're mostly like going, oh, that's a Sonic Youth song. That's a Ministry song. Like, it had a great soundtrack, and I've actually been listening to it. But
yeah, I wrote the same stuff down about, like, I know, like, Linklater is known for his needle droppy kind of filmmaking, and it does, like, Sonic Youth. I think I heard Butthole Surfers, Flaming Lips, and Stephen Malcolmus from Pavement
Beck
as well. Oh, it was Beck as well, yeah. And that's kind of what I liked most about the film. I think, like,
even Pennywise, punk,
oh
skate
yeah,
punk.
yeah. It doesn't quite work. I understand. I get. We were interested in doing this because it is, he comes up with Slacker, then Dazed and Confused, and Before Sunrise, which are just 3 huge films, and they're great. They all hold up. And then he does this, and I've never heard anyone talk about this. So.
Well, this seems like a lost film. Like, I don't think it ever came out on DVD or Blu-ray. I mean, at least that I couldn't find.
It was hard to
find.
It's not
in streaming services.
There's a British film from the 80s called SubUrbia as well, and that comes up everywhere.
Who directed that? Penelope something?
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Yeah,
but that seems to be even more popular.
Well, Flea's in that film apparently from the Chili Peppers. But so to summarise this film, it's basically about a group of friends who just kind of hang outside a convenience store.
Yes,
they're like what, late teens, early 20s.
I'd say they're kind of. Oh God, yeah, that's a good question because I kind of thought they were mid-20s, but they're all kind of talking about going to do college and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They're kind of that gap. They're a group of people who left high school but hadn't gone on to do college. They're kind of in that wasted
so
kind of.
They're kind of like 18,
area.
19, I guess 20.
Should we say 20, 21 maybe?
Yeah. So they spend their evenings or days hanging outside of a convenience store, and they're kind of waiting for one of their friends called Pony to come back and visit, who's playing a show because he's kind of become famous and he's all over MTV with his shitty rock band or
shitty rock band. Yeah, those songs that he sung.
They were garbage.
I was really trying to find out who wrote them because they've got such a great soundtrack. Surely they hired someone to write the songs. But
I know Sonic Youth wrote like at least 3 songs for this. Like the song Sunday from the film is wicked.
Yeah.
And I think they may have re-recorded that for one of their albums or something. But it's a great track. But
I've actually found the because this is a play. It's written by
Eric
Bogerson. I think he pronounced his name. I really apologise if I'm getting that wrong. He's the guy who wrote Talk Radio, and actually I think he acts in Talk Radio, Oliver Stone's film. And Sex, Drugs,
he also
and Rock and
wrote
Roll.
Under Siege 2.
Yeah, he's in it as well, isn't he? Yeah.
Is he in it?
I'm sure he is. Yeah, I'm sure he's in it at some point. He acts quite a lot. So this is a theatre play, and so that's why everything takes place in a parking lot. It's really wordy in the way plays are wordy, but it isn't snappy. That's what I couldn't enjoy about it. It wasn't funny enough. It wasn't snappy enough. It was just wordy.
It's a shame that did Linklater write Dazed and Confused? I think he did.
I don't know that. I will check.
I mean, is it blasphemy to rewrite a play? Because if you get a book, you rewrite a book and adapt it as a screenplay.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is just straight up the script of the play. Just put on screen.
That's what I was going to say.
It's a shame they didn't adapt it. Or
when I was watching this, I found the playbook for the show, so I was going through it, and it does seem to be the same. I couldn't find any differences. What made me laugh, because we're
Okay.
talking about the songs, there's a little section at the front of the playbook that basically says, I wrote these songs can be whatever like the actor you hire couldn't play. They just need to seem natural and comfortable, that the person's comfortable at performing them.
Okay.
When I wrote them in my head, I thought they were REM songs, but you know, it can be whatever style your actor's comfortable with. They don't have to be perfect, 'cause they're meant to be draft songs anyway, and that's just a little note for whatever the songs have to be. So that's why I was sure they must have hired someone to just write a couple of songs for the film, but I couldn't find that information anywhere.
So I noticed in the credits, the opening credits, it said production design by Catherine Hardwicke.
Okay.
So do you know who Catherine Hardwicke is?
I do. Why do I?
So she directed 13, Lords of Dogtown.
Oh.
Is it Lords of Dogtown?
Yeah.
And the first Twilight movie and Red Riding Hood.
Have you seen 13?
And you can definitely and you can tell in her early films, she definitely, because she worked with a lot of these indie directors, and you can tell she definitely learnt a lot from like Linklater, and she even worked on Tank Girl.
Oh wow!
As the production design. But you can tell she learnt a lot from these filmmakers.
I've been meaning to watch 13 actually. I was thinking if you hadn't seen it, I'll put it on the list. But I was thinking about.
I haven't seen it.
So maybe we'll stick that on the list actually and do it when we get around to it.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
So
it's character-wise. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I think we go in the same way, because where were we? They hang about in a parking lot. Their friend's coming, who's in a band, and that's the whole film. That's the whole film.
Yeah. So we just talk about the characters, and I guess so. You've got Pony, who's the friend who comes back, who's the musician, who I think is a pretty awful actor.
I think,
at least in this film,
I think he's a terrible actor in this. I really don't. I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Jace Bartok?
Yeah,
he doesn't work in this film. I think the character is reprehensible.
I mean, I think he's supposed to come across as a douche, and he is a douche.
He is a douche. He's a complete douche. And okay, so they're waiting for him all night because he's playing a show nearby. They're all his friends from high school, but he doesn't comp them to go to the show.
Yeah, he doesn't go, I'll give you a guest list.
He just goes, what, you couldn't afford to come, and gets angry at them a little bit for not coming. And then he rocks up at the parking lot in a limo. And you're like, what fucking twat would do that? I don't even understand, how much of a superstar do you think you are? And he's like, oh, it's easier to have the driver. And I'm like, oh, you are. I don't like you at all.
You've got the art student called Suze, who does
played by Amy
performance
Carey.
art piece.
Do
you know my favourite thing about her is when you're introduced to her, you see her mom, and her mom's got she's watching TV, and it's on top of another TV.
Yeah, I wrote Home Shopping Mom on my list.
Yeah.
Her one-man show is the most 90s Gen X fucking one-man show that's ever been shot on film. I was struggling to know. This is the stuff that's sometimes funny about going back and watching old films. Is am I meant to think that's good or crap or funny?
I kind of took it as the script is quite self-aware, so it's kind of well aware that this is what these people are. I know it's kind of taking the mick out of them. I'd like to think because Giovanni Ribisi, I can't pronounce his name.
Giovanni
Phoebe's
Ribisi.
brother.
Yeah.
He kind of says it later on that he doesn't have a voice, and he doesn't know what he's thinking or what to say. But that kind of then gives it a voice, I guess. Ironically, not ironically. Do you know what I mean?
I guess the film for me was, we're going to jump all over the place with this because the way this film's put together, but it was such an icon of Gen X mindset that it pissed me off, because it was the bad thing to do in this film. It was to care. Giovanni Ribisi's character is such a whiny shit who both wants to be seen as some deep thinker, but also won't allow himself to actually emote or care about anything. And I just got so tired of his shit during the film.
It's like they're intentionally obnoxious and entitled.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, unlike other kind of films about the Gen X era, like Singles or Clerks or
even Richard Linklater's own film,
it doesn't celebrate that culture though.
No.
Whereas it kind of glamorizes it in the other ones. In this one, it doesn't. it makes them look like complete and utter assholes.
It does, really
which
does.
They are.
They are.
And probably people at that age probably were a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, but that's different.
Overeducated.
That's
but
different than writing a plot about them. You're left at the end of the film going, well, what the fuck am I doing with these characters? Like, they're horrible, and they deserve the shit they're getting themselves into because all of them are pricks. Like,
well, I mean, I can't pronounce his name. Ribisi.
Giovanni
Ribisi.
Ribisi.
Yeah. So like he's supposed to be the hero, but like is he? Like
is he?
Is he meant? Yeah.
No, he's not. I can tell you he's not the fucking hero because his friend threatens to shoot the fucking the convenience store worker for no reason. Like they treat that convenience store worker so badly.
Do you know? I like him. He was in Office Space.
Yeah,
he plays like one of
Ajay,
the other guys.
Ajay Naidu.
Yeah.
Is it Naidu? Yeah, he's in Office Space. He's in a ton of stuff. He's probably the best in this film. Actually, I thought Giovanni was good as well, but I actually thought Ajay was the best.
I think he's always solid, though he is.
Yeah.
From whatever I've seen him in, he's always solid. Nicky Cat played Tim, who's the arsehole ex-military guy.
I don't think I've hated a character more in my life than this character. I fucking hated him.
He played the bully in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
And I mean, this film could literally be the sequel to that film.
I'm sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I know it's set. Well, I know it's set 20 years later, so it could be they're the kids of those characters, or it's like the spiritual sequel.
Yeah, it was like Dazed and Confused, but in modern times, like,
but without any likable characters
or comedy, frankly. Like,
yeah. Well, this is billed as a comedy drama. I was like, where's the comedy?
When does it happen?
Yeah. Like, he sets up his friend saying, "Oh, I murdered the publicist.
I was going to get to that.
You can find her in my car." Then he doesn't even go to the car, and he's like, rats out his friend, even though he didn't actually kill anyone.
The whole end of that film made no sense to me.
I'm like, what?
He punches. He says he punches and murders the girl because he couldn't get an erection, and then it's not even played like that toxically, but that's literally what happened. And then Giovanni Ribisi goes to find the dead body,
finds the mobile phone.
Finds them. Is that what he had? Was it a pager or a phone?
He finds a mobile phone. Doesn't even go in.
Doesn't go in there, and then spends all night sitting on the side of the street, deciding whether he should call the cops or not, because thinking his friend had killed someone.
Yeah,
and then he hadn't killed her, and like you spent.
So, are we meant to? So he's getting checks from like the army or whatever, like because he was
he's meant to be dismissed. So hang on, wasn't he for something
dismissed?
Yeah,
is that a lie though that he cut his fingertip off? Because I can't imagine you get dismissed for cutting the tip of your finger off.
I'm sure he was.
So there's obviously something else going on there, but I don't really care.
He was a raging fucking like white supremacist. I don't know. Like it's just.
Oh yeah,
I fucking hated him. I hated that character.
And
then at the end of the film, I'm so angry at the end of the film because when he sees oh god, we're jumping over. When he sees the girl passed out on the roof, he's suddenly like the hero.
Becomes the hero.
And they're like, no, you were fucking shooting a gun round at a guy who was just working. Like that's all the guy had done is had a job, was his like crime. Had a job and be an immigrant, I think, were his crimes. Like, and I'm sure that's so what, the girl. I don't know, but God.
So the art girl Suze, who's like your stereotypical kind of riot girl, kind of with like sideways spiky hair. She like, they say, "What do you stand? What does your art stand for?" And she's like,
"I have to say, I'm waiting. That can come."
It's cool. So they're like, "What do you stand for?" And she's like, women's rights. I'm against racism and stuff like that. And then.
Yeah. God.
More than 2 seconds later, they're like taking the mick out of the clerk for being, Pakistani or whatever, and she's laughing at it. And I'm like,
I know.
Is the film aware of what she's doing? I hope so.
That's what
I don't know.
That's literally what I couldn't work out because none of them really fight back against any of the toxicity in that group. They're all just kind of join in on it. And
I'd say Giovanni, I can't pronounce his fucking name.
Giovanni Ribisi.
I'm just going to call him Phoebe's brother. He's the only one who kind of calls people out, I think.
Kind of, but he does it in a
but then doesn't really go the full.
He doesn't do it because he cares about other people. He doesn't do it because he thinks the other person's feelings will be hurt or that you shouldn't be a racist. He does it in a look at me kind of way. I don't know. It's incredibly Gen X, I guess. I don't know. It does kind of sum it up, but.
And then you've got Steve Zahn, who's basically like Spicoli from Fast Times.
I couldn't stand Steve Zahn in this film. I couldn't. What was this character? What?
Hey, he's in your favourite movie. What was it called? Happy Texas.
Is he in Happy Texas? That's not Happy Texas.
I think he is.
It's not my favourite film.
You bought it on DVD. It's your favourite.
Steve Zahn has got a career that never really went anywhere. What was the film that he was like? Is it? Oh God, what is that film called? That he was.
I don't know. There's lots of films in the world.
Sahara, is that the one I'm thinking of?
Oh, with Matthew McConaughey.
And it was meant to be like the new Mummy. And look at this new adventure team. We got Matthew McConaughey and I can't say his name. Steve Zahn and Penelope Cruz. And Steve Zahn is so out of place in that cast.
Hey, he's in Daddy Daycare.
Oh, good for Steve Zahn. I've got nothing against Steve Zahn. I just couldn't stand him in this film. I couldn't stand him at all. I didn't know why he was there. I didn't know if he was funny. I didn't know. Like, he was just annoying.
So, you know, like the pony guy keeps asking them, going, "Oh, I want you to do my album artwork. I want you to, I want you to direct my video." I mean, is he playing? Does he think
them?
They're genuinely talented, or is he using them? I don't get it.
I thought he was using her.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But I don't understand why he decided Steve Zahn has to shoot his music video.
Yeah.
In what do you make music videos also? What do you think about having a music video set in a Chinese restaurant with a stereotypical heavy accented waitress? Is that your idea of a great music video? Because that's what they had in this film. That was their big idea.
It's definitely going to get you an MTV Music Video Award. That's for sure. One of those little what are they like, the little astronaut guy?
Oh yeah, it is a little astronaut, isn't it? With the TV thing.
I hate it when people have artistic ideas in films and they're like so like joyed over their like shitty idea. I'm just like, it's horrible. I hate it.
I hate it too. When that was happening, and they were like, "Oh, we could have the waitress," and she's an Asian actress who was clearly putting on a really heavy accent. They were like, and she can be here saying, I can't remember what she said. She thinks she said "closed" at them, and they were repeating "closed" back at her in their kind of really thick Asian accent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the same with the bloody convenience store worker as well. Every time he said anything, they were just shouting back at him.
I can't understand you. What you're saying.
And obviously, RJ was RJ had a heavy kind of Indian accent as well in this film, which, as well. So
he doesn't have that in Office Space.
He doesn't,
does he?
because he wasn't born in India.
Yeah, and he wasn't directed to.
He wasn't directed to do it.
Just Indian it up a bit.
Yeah,
it's like the Apu thing, isn't it? Like
absolutely. It's like Master of None episode about it. Like it was an absolutely classic example of it.
I've got a few notes here.
Go for it.
$2.50 for a packet of cigarettes.
Sounds good.
That's not going to happen now. No mobile phones, which it's quite weird now to watch a film with young youths in it and they're not like got mobile phones in their hands and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I always find it funny when
really
because they kept on going to the payphone, didn't they, to make calls?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why. And there was the other character in it who.
BB.
Who's
we're not talking about
the alcoholic? Yeah,
played by Dina Spivey, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Who is an alcoholic who her parents sent to
19.
rehab. And she resents them for it, and then drinks herself to death. I guess.
Are you meant to presume she's dead at the end?
Oh, I think they said she was breathing, actually. So
okay.
Maybe she wasn't dead. She disappears halfway through the night, and then in the morning they find her on a roof, passed out, after the army guy is shooting a gun on the roof. And that's... I don't know this film. I don't know.
Like, Rolling Stone put this as as Linklater's worst film.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I can't agree because he's made so many films. because
Let's have a look at his.
I haven't seen them all,
I need to look at his filmography.
but it's probably the worst I've seen of his.
Well, you know, like I try and watch those Vanity Fair like videos
yeah.
where it's got like actors talking about like their their best roles and stuff. So I found one of Linklater, and it's talking about all of his films. So it goes Slacker, then Dazed and Confused, and it goes before. What is it? Before
Sunrise first, yeah.
Then it completely skips Suburbia and goes straight to Waking Life. And I was
Well,
like,
that means it's skipping.
well, that kind of.
It's skipping the Newton Boys as well. Then
I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it either, but he makes films. That's what he does, you know.
He's made 16 films.
I know.
And he's like 60 now. He seems to me like a guy that should always be like 40. Do you know what I mean? Like Cameron
just
Crowe
turning
to me.
40, yeah.
Like Cameron Crowe always seems like a guy who's like 40, 45, but God knows how old he is now.
I didn't like Everybody Wants Some, actually. I'd say
Everybody Wants Some.
that was the worst Linklater film I'd seen until.
Which one's that one?
It came out in 2016. It's kind of like it feels like it's based on his own life a little bit. And it's about a baseball team in Texas.
Oh, in the 80s.
Yeah.
Is that the? So it's like this. That's the 80s version of
Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Though I might, maybe if I go back and rewatch it, I might like it. Actually, I just remember not really liking that film.
I'd like to rewatch A Scanner Darkly.
Yeah, I never had a good time with that. I liked the attempt at it more than the film I watched. Really.
So I'm looking at
And Waking Life.
a list on
was obviously-
Google. It's saying Spy Kids. I don't think he did Spy Kids.
He didn't do Spy Kids.
Oh, me and Orson Welles. That was all right.
Yeah, I love Boyhood. Well, actually, could you reckon you can rank your top 5 Richard Linklaters? So I think
Linklater
I could.
I think I'd have to say number 1 for me would have to be School of Rock.
Okay, cool. I love.
I
that
just
film.
think that film is wonderful.
I think it's perfect,
just it just works
Yeah.
for me. Probably Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
Boyhood.
Yeah.
I do like A Scanner Darkly.
Yeah.
Because I like my genre films.
Sure.
And then I'd probably have to go for Before Sunrise.
Okay.
But I haven't seen that in so long.
I haven't seen it. I was going to rewatch the Before trilogy actually, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. I was going to watch them. I've never seen Before Midnight actually, so I can't say if that's good or not.
Bernie's good. Bernie would be up there.
I think my top 5. Boyhood, I think, is my favourite film of his. I think Boyhood's a triumph.
It's a great film.
And fuck the Oscars because it's a better film than fucking Birdman.
Yeah.
Dazed and Confused, I think. Then it's Before Sunrise, School of Rock, and then Bernie. I really, really love Bernie.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's really inventive.
I forgot
and
he
funny.
made. I forgot he did the remake of Bad News Bears.
Yeah, that's a bit of a forgotten film.
Yeah, and he did Fast Food Nation.
I'd never saw that. It's say like actually they moved they moved this play because I think it's in Brooklyn or something or like that in the theatre. It's not.
Oh,
Brooklyn,
they moved it to Austin.
but they moved to Austin, Texas. Yeah, which if you don't know, Richard Linklater's from Austin, Texas. So basically, all his films take place there. The other person who's from Austin, Texas, Ollie, is Alex Jones of InfoWars fame, and that's why Alex Jones is in 2 of Richard Linklater's early films as like because he was like a kind of mini celebrity in Austin, Texas, as a kind of mad ranty guy. So Richard Linklater would just cast him as be your mad ranty guy here, please. And I think he's in Waking Life and Scanner Darkly. I think Waking Life he's driving around in a car with speakers on it and he's yelling about kind of life and like freedom and stuff like that. And then Scanner Darkly is on the corner of a street which looks exactly like the parking lot in this film, yelling about kind of the drug of the film, the kind of the D drug, and the state are going to come get you, and some van pulls up and bungles him away into a van. But I was honestly expecting Alex Jones to show up in this film because like where it was shot.
I remember going to MVC with you, and I bought Waking Life, and we took it home to watch, thinking, yeah, this is going to be wicked. And we're like, what is this? And I think at 16, we weren't quite ready for that film, but I'd like to rewatch Waking Life now.
I was thinking of trying to rewatch it as well, actually, because like it's a weird film because it's you're the animator, so what's it called again?
Was rotoscopes, but
yeah.
instead of so it's all done on the computer, rotoscopes.
But it's fluid, isn't it? That's what I
yeah.
remember about
There's
it a
different
lot.
styles and techniques of it, and like it's kind of like a stream of consciousness film, really, isn't it? So it's a bit like Slacker in that way, where it will just go from one conversation to the other, whereas like A Scanner Darkly, which is done in exactly the same style, is a more conventional kind of
it's much
A
more
to B plot, isn't it?
I would say that Waking Life, I think the animation's fluid. I think of people's faces changing colour. I think of people's shape of their heads changing.
Oh yeah, like they'll
stuff.
do things where their head turns and then their eyes will follow later.
Yeah.
And
Whereas
it's
Scanner
almost a bit
Darkly is much
trippy
more
and
solid, apart from the kind of dreamy
definitely.
stuff, but it's much more like physical, rotoscoped.
Well, I mean, Waking Life are based on dreams he actually had.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I never have dreams that are that fucking existential or. I always have dreams about.
You never did
getting
acid
my
in
class.
Austin.
You what? Sorry,
I said you never did acid in Austin.
that's true. No, my dreams are always about getting my coursework done on time, always, and I think that's just because I'm always up against deadlines.
Yeah. I used to have a recurring dream years after I left school about not attended a class that I have to write an essay on for history, and then not being able to write an essay on it or something. I don't really remember the dream, but I had that recurring dream a lot. Not anymore.
I mean, do you have any more thoughts about this film, or?
Yeah, I could sum it up in what I really thought about it. I just was looking down my notes and it says Susie speaks about equality and then treats Nassim like shit.
Yeah.
So that's that. I think Linklater as a director is deeply empathetic in the kind of same way that Jonathan Demme is. He's not as empathetic as Jonathan Demme. Jonathan Demme cares about every single person on a camera frame. It might be someone in the crowd, it might be a musician, anyone. Like Linklater tends to care about his characters a lot. That's why the Before trilogy works. That's why his films work, because he really cares about these people. And this film doesn't have that at all. Like, it just doesn't. It, instead of having I didn't feel any affection in this film at all. I just felt like this kind of overwhelming misanthropy and this pessimistic kind of bullshit, the kind of pessimistic bullshit that we kind of grew up around a little bit because it was still going on when we were at school, and it just, all the characters in this were just singularly noted assholes, really, or tiresome and whiny. That was the two characters in this film, and I just
that's why I wish it could at least have his stamp on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just give it a bit of a rewrite, because you're making a film, make it a bit different.
Yeah.
Kind of I guess the idea with the play, maybe they're in a bit of not a purgatory, but they're just in this, I don't know, they're just in a shit.
I got the kind of element of it's that age where you didn't go to college and you don't really know what your life's going to set out to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're kind of stuck in this kind of rut. But they're too young to really figure it out.
Yeah. And it doesn't get you. This film doesn't get you anywhere. Even when Nassim says quite realistic things to Giovanni Ribisi's character, his point is undercut by the fact that then his wife yells at him and chucks his wedding ring at him.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
They then all take the piss out of him, and his point is just undercut by it. So it's just I didn't know what I was doing with this film. I just didn't feel it at the end.
Well, there's a lot of social commentary in this film, but it's quite hammy, and it's
really
almost
hammy,
it's almost like soap opera-y, and I don't know,
I
you said, the whole A&A meetings, and
I kind of in terms of direction and stuff like that, because it was based on a play, I was actually kind of impressed of how it didn't totally feel like a play. Because I think Richard Linklater did do a really good job at kind of putting it into a physical place. Even though all the kind of really wordiness of a play was still there, it didn't feel like it was just locked in walls like play films tend to feel.
Well, I mean, they go in the limousine, they go driving around,
Moves
he
about quite
tries
a bit.
to steal the plant plot and
It's
stuff
well
like
shot,
that. But it stays in that kind of that area.
Yeah, it does. it
that
felt
block or whatever.
It felt a bit bigger, and maybe on initial watch, I wouldn't totally know where the act break was with it as well.
Yeah.
I guess it's when Pony leaves, but it's still like it was. It didn't. It did feel like he had done some good stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And his cinematographer as well, who I think it's his cinematographer on every film, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Who is Lee Daniel. I thought he did a good job as well. I thought it was shot nicely, and I thought it looked good. I thought, I was on board with the way the film felt and was shot. The contents of it was very disappointing, really.
The intro kind of reminded me a bit of Clerks. So, like you have Dante in the flipping closet, and that's how he falls out of the closet and answers the phone.
Yes.
You've got
Phoebe's
brother. He's living in a tent in his parents' house. No, he's in I think it's his parents' house.
Oh, okay.
He's got a landline phone.
Oh, yeah.
He's just living in a tent. He's got a laptop in his tent.
That character was suffering. He does pin up that kind of time. Like, I think everyone might go through something that feels like this, when you want to kind of be loved by people, but you're not willing to actually be a loving person at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of got that from that character, but I feel like there needs to be a route that he goes in. He doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't move.
Yeah, his character just goes around in circles and I don't know.
And like, he could have had him at least if she was dead, which would have been a horrible thing for the film to do. At least maybe he could have then found the body and then decided to step up and call the police. That could have been like a progression. But instead, he doesn't kill her. He thinks she's dead, doesn't check it out, doesn't call the police.
Yeah. Well, he does call the police in the end, doesn't he?
He does right at the end and then hangs up on them, doesn't he?
Does he hang up?
I can't remember.
So the girl who ODs,
yeah,
she's not actually friends with them. She's only friends with Suze. Is that correct? So she's never met the other ones.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you are.
I'm quite impressed how they walk around with, like beer cans on the plastic the plastic rings.
Yeah.
Like how they drag them along. If I was to do that, all those beer cans would just fall out.
I think I've done that before. They've all just fell out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much spent on this film. I mean, I don't know what else.
I guess what we haven't mentioned is that Erica was played by Parker Posey.
Oh yeah.
So
she was in Dazed and Confused as well.
She was, yeah.
And I do like Parker Posey. She's a good actress.
Yeah, me too.
But I just feel like she didn't have much to do in this.
Oh, she had nothing. No, nothing. Like, the women in this film had nothing really to do. Suze had that performance, but I don't know what. It undercut her immediately after she gave it, so she just made it look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But
I think, I'm hoping that that was purposefully done. I'm assuming it was.
I think it was purposeful, yeah. I don't know.
But there's no growth from that character. I don't know. I guess it's hard to make a character grow in an evening.
Yeah, but like you
have to do that, otherwise.
It's like you need to write an event that triggers something in a character. So they did this, but actually it doesn't trigger anything. So it just ended up being quite an unfulfilling and unsatisfactory kind of watch. Really, I can absolutely see why this film never gets talked about. It's a lost film in Richard Linklater's filmography, and I am really glad that we watched it for that reason. Actually,
yeah.
But also, do you know who did the soundtrack? Actually,
I did read that. Enlighten me.
Stuart Copeland from The Police.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I think I did read that, but like I said, going back the Sunday by Sonic Youth. Tune.
Good old Sonic Youth.
Okay, you're on Letterboxd. What are you giving it out of 5?
I don't know. It's about 2-ish, 1.5, 2-ish.
1.5.
1.5, 2-ish. It's there. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, it's between a 2 and a 2.5 for me. It's probably got an extra bump because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack, and I do think some of the performances are good. I think, you know,
Like I'm massively swayed by a good soundtrack for a film, especially 90s soundtracks, because I'm quite partial to 90s alternative
amazing.
rock music.
Yeah, totally.
So like, you know, a lot of these bands like Girls Against Boys and Butthole Surfers were on a load of soundtracks back then. I'm surprised Filter wasn't on this soundtrack. They were on flipping every 90s soundtrack.
It was
And who's that other band? What were they called? Stabbing Westward. I'm surprised they're not on it somewhere.
Well, Boss Hogg's on it, so don't worry. And Uncle.
Oh yeah, I do like Uncle.
I was going to say, just final things. Steve Zahn and Shamia Shoaib, I think you pronounce it.
Oh, they were in the play version, weren't
the
they?
people who did the play, yeah, the only people that carried over. Because Steve Zahn
Were
was
they the same
damn
characters?
good. Yeah, they were, yeah. We didn't talk about Samia, but she played the wife of the convenience store worker as well.
I mean, very small part.
Very small part, yeah.
I'm surprised of all the parts they recast. That was the one they're like, nope, got to have her for her 3 lines.
She was good for her 3 lines.
Oh, she was good.
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
saying she wasn't. I wasn't saying she wasn't
No,
good,
no,
but it just surprises me
just
that was
surprising,
the
yeah.
one they had to.
Right, so I figured we would kind of end with biggest weekend game again, because I kind of enjoyed that last week. So we'll go from 10 to 1 again, because that's easier for me. There are some repeats in this, and I'll tell you when there are repeats weekends, because that will help you. So number 10 is November 15th, 1996, and it was released by Warner Bros.
Yeah.
It was... the poster is one of those posters when it's like, finally, blah meets blah.
Blah meets blah.
You know, finally, actor meets actor. Like you've been waiting for this forever.
Actor meets actor. So there's a big deal then that these two got together.
Yeah, they're kind of international icons.
Heat was the year before, so it's not that.
Both of them not known for their movies.
Have we talked about it already today?
Yeah.
Is it Space Jam?
It is.
Yes.
I thought that was a good clue.
That was a good clue.
27 million.
What was it? Bugs meets Jordan or something
yeah,
like that?
Totally. Finally, Bugs and Jordan together. You've been waiting for this forever.
Haven't they made a sequel to that or making one or
They
something?
keep threatening to make sequels to Space Jam. I can't say anything about Space Jam. It's like talking about Hook. We know it's not a good film, but you love it. That's kind of like both of those films is that. So this is the week after that, actually. So this was November 22nd. It made 30 million. It was released by Paramount. It was the newest film in a incredibly long-running franchise that spreads TV and film. This one, for me, is the second best film of this franchise.
Is it still going today?
Yep. Yeah. On both, actually. Film and TV.
Oh, it's got to be Star Trek, but I don't know which one it is.
It's First Contact.
Is that the one with the Borgs?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I love that film. And I'm really surprised it top 10 opening weekend for 1996 was a Star Trek film. That really surprised me, actually. I always think of it as small films, but...
Which was the one after this? Insurrection?
Yeah, which was weird. And then... But I love the Star Trek films, and in First Contact, if you're ever going to watch a Star Trek film, especially a Picard film, watch First Contact, 'cause it's a great action flick. And I believe it was directed by William Frakes, who's Riker, and he's really, really good at directing Star Trek. He really gets what makes it work.
Oh, cool. He did some episodes of Picard, or did you just say
Yeah,
that?
yeah, he did, yeah. He's done a lot of Star Trek, actually, a lot of TV. And
Clock Stoppers.
And Thunderbirds.
Oh, yeah.
I love Johnny Frakes, so... Number 8, also November film, so November 29th. It made 33 million, and it was released by Disney. it was a remake.
A remake of what? Of one of their animated films?
Yeah, it was a live action remake.
I'm trying to think back then.
Starring a kind of, I don't know, icon of cinema, really.
I'm trying to think. The only remakes they would have done then was like either Homeward Bound or 101 Dalmatians.
101 Dalmatians it is.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Shit. Is that considered one of their like live action remakes like the ones today?
It should
be.
In that? It frankly should be. I never actually watched it, so I can't actually comment on it at all. But I remember it being a huge film.
I think John Hughes wrote that film.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Okay, this film, number 6, was released in July the 12th.
Yeah.
It made 34 million. And it was released by Walt Disney. Kind of weirdly released by Walt Disney. It's
weirdly,
yeah. Its lead cast is like there's really is a singular lead of this film. The poster is just him, and he was like he's just this in the 90s. He's huge. He's a massive film star.
And when did it come out? Sorry, was it a summer release?
Yeah, July. Yeah. Directed by a workman, really.
A workman.
But an iconic kind of workman, I guess.
Not Ron Howard.
Yes.
Have Ron Howard directed it?
Yeah.
Oh.
The lead actor is not really working anymore, though he is. Kind of went through some... He's definitely not the star he was in the 90s, though he's still probably a household name. Bit of a problematic guy. When I say a bit of a problematic guy, that's an underestimate. It's
a bit
hugely problematic guy.
What can you at least give me the genre of this film?
Yeah, it's like action, kidnap, action film.
Ransom.
Yes.
Oh, Mad Mel.
Mad Mel. That's insane. That
was a Disney film.
One, it's a Disney film, and two, that it. I apologise. That was a November release. I read that badly.
That's all right.
But it's insane that's like 7th biggest opening weekend is Ransom.
The only bit I remember that is Gary Sinise or Sinise, who is the villain, and he's like plays a cop, and the way that Mel Gibson finds out that he's the kidnapper is because the kid pisses himself. Do you remember?
I'm not even sure I've seen Ransom, if I'm very honest. I probably have. It seems like that film. I just remember the poster being everywhere, and like always being in VHS shops because it's him. The poster's like him with some screens,
with all TV screens.
Yeah, and he's kind of like got his hands like that, and it's like
it's
clenched. It's Mel Gibson doing things. Oh, I have.
He was massive, wasn't he?
He was huge, and yeah. Okay, I'm going to skip to number 3, 4, and 5 now. So opening weekend.
What, in one go?
Yeah, opening weekends 3, 4, and 5. So that's May 10th, May 24th, and May 17th.
Okay.
It's interesting to note that May 24th made more money than May 17th. So there was some word of mouth going on.
Okay.
It made 41 in its opening, and then 37 in the others. Action film.
Was it Twister?
Yes, Twister.
Really? He made that much money?
Insane, isn't it? It opened. Domestic box office was 24 million. 240 million.
That film has got a really good cast, though.
Yeah, Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton.
Got Bill Paxton, and you've got what's his name?
Carrie Owens.
Yeah.
Ools.
Jonas, that son of a bitch. No, Williams. What's it? Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it.
Yep, it definitely is in his weirdest character.
Yeah. Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day
Alan
Off.
Ruck. Yeah. It was produced by Kathleen Kennedy, wasn't it? As well.
Yeah, and Spielberg has something to do. It's definitely an Amblin film, I think.
Yeah, and Michael Crichton as well. But
Michael Crichton wrote it.
I think he produced it.
Oh wow.
And Jan de Bont was that his follow up to Twister Speed? Was it as well? Is that maybe why it was so big?
I guess so. I wonder what was his film after that? Was it like Tomb Raider or something?
God, good.
Or Speed 2, Cruise
Speed
Control.
2,
that
maybe?
would kill your career, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that did kill his career probably. Speed, Twister, Speed 2, and then he didn't make. Oh, then he made The Haunting. Oh dear. So he did.
Because he was
Speed 2, The Haunting, and then Lara Croft.
He was a DP. I think he did.
He was,
Die Hard.
Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah, and Flatliners, and Basic Instinct. I think.
Oh.
Twister is a film that I loved. I watched that like 100 times, and everyone was upset.
I watched it.
It was a summer of tornadoes. Everyone knew everything about tornadoes that year.
F5s and F5. I watched it recently. I still enjoyed it.
Does it work?
Yeah, I mean it's cheesy as all out, but like it's good fun.
You got to get Dorothy up there.
Oh yeah, put the wings on it.
We're storm chasers. It's what we do.
It's one of those films that once it ends, once the little twiddly little radio, whatever they are, like the little things, they go up in the tornado.
Oh yeah.
It just ends.
It just does, doesn't it? And bye. We had another good time.
It's like films nowadays. Like the main conflict will end. You still got half an hour left to go.
If that film was made nowadays, they'd be battling the tornado. Helen Hunt would have gone up in it, and Bill Paxton would have had to fly in to save her.
I would have wanted toys from this film. Imagine having tornado toys. I don't know how they'd work.
What, Philip Seymour Hoffman in his Hawaii
his little camper van.
Yeah,
blasts out Red Hot Chili Peppers or whatever it is that he's listening to. Is it? And he listens to something.
What's the the old lady they all go and visit? They all call her Mom.
Meg.
Meg.
Her name's Meg. She makes the best best beef steaks in the land.
Oh, they don't make films like they used to.
They don't.
Okay, so number 2, May release. So this came out May 24th, which was still when Twister was making absolute killing at the box office. Paramount Pictures, and it was the first film of what became a big franchise.
24th.
Yeah. Huge movie star.
Have we spoke?
Yeah.
Have we spoke about this franchise?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Mission Impossible.
Yeah. I realised that we kind of spoke about most of these. And then number 1 film, number 1 opening weekend, was also the number 5 opening weekend, and it opened July the 5th, which is a clue.
Independence Day?
Yes.
It opened July 5th?
Yeah, I know. Why did it open July 4th?
What? Well, wouldn't it open before that, really, just to get a head start on it?
I guess it did, and it's just July the 5th is the weekend.
The official, yeah, because it may have been the 5th was the Friday or something.
Yeah.
So maybe it opened like.
See if I can find that information. Which, I mean, there's no doubt that was the biggest film of this year. I think I saw that film 3 times in the cinema. I think
I saw it once, and I remember people clapped at the end. I'm like, why are you clapping? And no one from the film is here.
Yeah, people don't clap in England. I know it's a thing in America, but people don't clap in England. And when they do, it's weird. I went to go see a screening of The King's Speech. Like, it was it was a screening that we didn't know what we were going to go see. It was one of those, not a test screening, but like, I don't know, an early screening. And people clapped at the end of it, of The King's Speech.
Is that older people being respectful to the film or something? I don't know. I'm generalising that older people went to go and watch that film at the cinema, but then you went to go and see it.
Because it wasn't older people, because it was just random tickets. Like, we all just got given tickets to go see it. So it was just, I think, just very...
Oh, like when we went to see The Fighter, when we got those, like...
Yeah. And it was just, everyone was just very happy they got to see a film, I think. Okay. It got released on July the 2nd, Independence Day.
Oh, okay.
So that makes a little more sense.
I remember in the X-Files movie that Mulder pisses on a poster of Independence Day in an alleyway.
Take that.
Can we start the X-Files podcast soon, please?
Yes,
That's
definitely. Was it ever called ID4 over in England?
Just all the posters always said ID4, which I thought was dumb.
I always thought it was dumb as well.
I never saw the sequel.
Oh, I have.
Like, they couldn't do ID2 for ID4-2.
ID42. Yeah, ID42. I'll do that. That works. Well, they could have set it on another holiday instead of Independence Day. It could have been set on like Flag Day or something. Or Arbor Day.
Hello. Yeah.
The Independence Day 2 is only worth watching because Brent Spinner is really good in it. Or Spiner. He's the best thing about the second film.
I thought he died in the first one.
Yeah, but that's what you thought happened.
Okay.
In fact, they were desperate to get some people back from the first film, so he lived.
That was the best bit in the first one, with the jump scare when they open at the chest and it just bursts open.
Yeah, absolutely. That film, toys and everything, didn't it? I don't know if I had a toy from that film.
I had one of the spaceships. My aunt bought me one of the little, the ones that detach off it, like the little
kind of saucers.
Yeah, the ones they fly off it at the end, in the end, and they put the virus into the mothership.
Yes, that they do with their Apple.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should leave it there.
Yeah, that's a wrap for 1996, I think.
96. I guess we talked about
So-
Richard Linklater.
So what year's next then, Liam?
Well, surprisingly, it's 1997.
Whoa, you don't say.
We don't say, but we are going to, because you're an animator and I like animation. I was going to try and put an animated film every year, every decade, every miniseries will get
Sounds
an
good to
animated
me.
film. It's kind of difficult in the 90s actually a little bit because I've seen almost all animated films apparently from the 90s.
Well, it's either Disney, Don Bluth, or there's a little bit of anime, I guess, like a spring thing of anime.
Most of the anime I've seen because it's like stuff like Ghost in the Shell and things, and which were huge.
Akira was the 80s. What am I talking about?
But it was that era of like these anime films being sold on VHSs, and us just kind of, especially kind of digging to find them whenever we could. But one film I hadn't never seen, it was Perfect Blue by Satoshi Kon. His first film. So we're going to do Perfect Blue, which come back next week, please.
It sounds perfect.
Hey.
I know that's terrible. I'm looking forward to watching it. Okay, on that note, as I said, we're on Twitter. We'd like to have a conversation with you about films. What do you think we should see? What haven't we seen? Do you think we're wrong in some of our opinions? What are your favourite films from 1996 or the years that we talk about?
What parking lots did you hang out of in the 90s?
What was that?
What parking lots did you hang out in the 90s?
Yeah. So with that said, remember, if the picture's bad, don't forget to adjust your tracking.